What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TW Motorsports, and today, well, I thought it'd be a kind of a cool video to tell you guys what I have spent on the inside of this truck. So I'm going to do a couple videos. I'm going to do one on what I've spent on the inside and what I've spent on the outside. But today we're primarily going to focus on what I have spent as far as the interior of the truck. Now, we've came a long way since we bought this truck and done several things, and I may even talk about some things that I still need to do or plan to do or would like to do. So either way, this list that I've got here in my hand includes the pricing, so I'm going to talk about that, and then we'll give you a total at the end on what I've spent. But we've done several things, like I said, and I figured that this list doesn't really go in order, but it does, you know, it makes sense. I'm going to cover everything that I've done. I've also got my light in here that my wife bought me to help maybe light some things up so you can see it a little better. But let's get started on one of the very first things that I bought for this truck, and I buy for a lot of things, is I'm one of those people that has to have multiple keys for their vehicle. So I did get a key cut. I didn't include the pricing of that because they're relatively cheap, but I did buy a new key fob, and I'm going to list all this stuff like always in the description down below. If you guys want to, some of this stuff you won't be able to get unless you go to a salvage yard, but other stuff you can order new. But either way, I started with the key fob. Ordered two of those. They were $18 for two new key fobs, so not too pricey. And actually, guys, I've dropped this thing multiple times and it's held up really well, so definitely worth it. You can program them yourself. I did make a video on that. Obviously I made a video on all this stuff. But next, on to the carpet. So when we got this truck, there was a big stain on the passenger side of the carpet, and wanted to replace it. So found a company called ACC. They pretty much make all the carpets for all, basically ACC makes the carpet, and you order it through different vendors. So there's not a whole lot there. So carpet and floor mats. So I also chose to get some cut floor mats that are actually meant to fit in this vehicle. And you can still see I've got some wrinkles in the carpet. I will tell you guys that if I had to do this part over, I would not order it with a mass backing in a crew cab truck, because it's way harder to lay, it's harder to cut. I would order it without the mass backing. So learn from my mistake, maybe put 2 layers of kill mat on the floor. That would probably make up for it. But either way, I spent $412. This all is going to include shipping. That's for the carpet and the floor mats. I think the floor mats break out to like $80 to $90 of that. So the rest was the carpet. But like I said, you could save yourself some money, not buy it with the mass backing. So speaking of that, on to the sound deadening. So I bought several rolls of sound deadening. Obviously, we did the top, the roof of the truck. We did the floors. We did the back panel back here. And so all in, all of that sound deadening was $180. Now, I ordered a couple boxes of 50 mil and 2 boxes of 80 mil and 1 box of 50 mil. And so that is what I did there. And like I said, if I had to do it over, I would have put a second layer on the bottom and not bought the mass backing. So I didn't include the tools, the little rollers. They're relatively cheap. I think they come in really handy. So if you guys can snag some of those, you're definitely going to want those if you don't already have them. On to the headliner. So obviously I sent this headliner to my upholstery guy. He recovered the thing. Now look, I did take it out myself and I put it back in myself. So that, you know, knocks some of the pricing down, but he charged me $170 to recover that. If you guys are comfortable doing it yourself, you can. I'm one of those picky ones. I don't want glue on it. I don't really have a great clean place table wise to do that. So $170 is what I spent on that. On to the mirror. Now, I really didn't show you guys the installation of the mirror because I thought it was going to be a little more in depth, but it was literally a plug and play. But I chose to go with a mirror that has the compass in it and the temperature. Now, my truck was already wired for it, and so just know that it did come with the wiring harness. I just didn't have to use it. So that was $95. I actually got that off of eBay. I'll try to list that in the description down below. That's one of those things that you're not gonna, you could probably buy new, but you'd be better off buying it used. On to the console. So, you know, this is a pretty common swap in these trucks. A lot of people like to put a center console in these trucks. Some people go as far as to put the armrest seats in as well. I just don't see the need in that, and my seats were in awesome shape. But I happened to score this console, which is the dark ebony console or charcoal console, which is kind of tough to find, but I did find it on Facebook Marketplace for $60. That is a steal. These things go for stupid money, up to $500-600 on eBay. So now with that being said, I did have to buy a few parts for the console because when I got this thing, a few things were broken. So this piece right here had a crack, and so I had to buy a new piece there. And then in the back here, I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I decided to buy one of those 3D printed pockets you can see right there. So for the 3D printed pocket, that was $35, but together those two parts, that centerpiece and the 3D console or 3D pocket, was $115. So on to the radio. The radio in this thing, I'm kind of gonna go back and forth here, guys, but the radio on this thing is something I've had laying around for a little bit. And so I'm including the price of what I bought it for back then. It's an older piece, but I had, like I said, I had it sitting around, and man, it's got some, I need to clean that off. I spent $350 on that. So, you know, that's relatively reasonable for a double din radio. Works great, I absolutely love it. Well, obviously we hooked a backup camera to it, which I will put the backup camera stuff in the exterior video when I do it. But spent $350 on it, and then the harness and the bezel. So it's not a direct plug and play. I wanted to retain, you know, my seatbelt warning sounds and my turn signal sounds and whatnot. That all plays through the speakers. And so in order to do that, I did buy a harness and the little bezel that goes around it. I spent about $80, $81 on that exactly. And that's just to get the thing installed. So on to the speakers. One of the first things I did, because only one speaker in this thing worked, was I replaced the door speakers here on these two doors and the ones in the back. The tweeters I left, the original factory tweeters. I spent $127 on those 4 speakers, and then those little pods that the speakers set in. I bought those. I don't know if you necessarily need those. It does make life a little easier, but I did buy them. $127 includes the speakers and the little holders that fit in the factory door panel. So it did make it kind of nice for the front speakers. On to really one of those things that I didn't have to do, but I decided to do, and that is I did put subs in this thing. And so I'm including the price of the amp. I can get the seat up here, the amp that I put in, and I really need more light back here, guys, but you can see my amplifier. I've had that for years. So I put that in, and then I also put the subs in the back that you can see. The box, the subs, those subs are not cheap. Those are JL, the thin T10W3, I think is what they're called. So all in, speakers and box. I did have my upholstery guy go over that box because remember we flush mounted those subs. The cost of the subs, really, really expensive, and the wiring. So everything I needed to do that was $1,500. Now I'm including the price that I paid for that amp years ago. I've had it for a long time. I paid about $350 for it, I think. So yeah, $1,500. That is a big chunk of what I've spent on the interior of this truck, but it's also one of those things, if I sell this truck, I will probably keep the amp and subs, leave the wiring, but either way, I wanted to tell you about it. On to the window tint. Obviously, we tint every vehicle at my house for the most part, unless it's old. We tint. I did 5% on the roll-ups, 5% over the factory, 20% that's in the back. So the factory glass has a 20% built into it. And then the very back glass, same thing, 5% over it. I did not do the windshield because my windshield had a crack in it. So this is just to do the windows other than the windshield. And so I'm not gonna include the windshield cost because I did replace it. I will talk about it on the exterior video, but $150 is what I spent to get the windows completely tinted. Next, the steering wheel. So the steering wheel was all chewed up. It was the cheapy foam, non-leather wrapped steering wheel that you guys see in these trucks. That drove me crazy. You touch that thing all the time. I want a nice soft touch point on that. I know a lot of people wanted to see me do the steering wheel controls, but there was more involved in that than I wanted to mess with. So I just bought a brand new wheel, and it is a brand new GM wheel, and it was $201 for that wheel. So I love the way it feels, and it seems to be holding up great. Had it on there for a little bit now. Really like that. Next, the LED lights. So you can't really see because they're not lit up right now. When I say LED lights, so the LED lights in the doors and the LED lights in the kick panels, like down below, and the LED light in the ceiling and the ones up front. So I spent about 20 bucks on that. And actually, guys, I've got several of those bulbs laying around. If you buy one of those kits like I listed down below, they come with extras that you don't even use, and you can just kind of keep them from other projects. So just kind of threw that in there because it is something I did. The very last thing And actually, I actually bought two things here, but the headlight switch, mine was shorted out. I did buy a new one. You can see it looks brand new. That was $53. I got that off Amazon. And then obviously the newest edition was this guy here. I think I spent about 60 bucks, maybe it wasn't even that much, about 50 bucks on the switch for the fog lights. But I didn't put that in this list because I'm going to include that on some of the exterior mods. This is a requirement, so I didn't put it on the list here. But that is what I have spent on the inside of this truck. Obviously, we're not counting any labor. I have obviously done a ton of labor with cleaning and laying that, just laying the sound deadener on the floor and the roof. That was a ton of work, guys. Getting the wiring, the carpet where I wanted it, that was a lot of work as well. Now, there are still some things that I want to do, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I know you guys want a total. So, in total, I have spent $3,532 on the interior of this truck, and that's a lot. And I know a lot of people, I posted a price for this truck a while back, and a lot of people are like, you're crazy. And look, I just posted that because a lot of people ask, that's what it would take at that point to buy this truck. Now, it may be high, and I know it's probably high, especially for the mileage on this truck, but we've also done a lot of stuff to it, and so I just wanted to throw a price out there. So that's what I did. I priced it at $14,000. I think I priced it at $13,000 without the stereo, and $12,000 without the stereo, and you bring your own wheels. So I know it's high, but I do like this truck. I've been driving it a lot. I drive it every day. But either way, $35,32 is the total all in. That's tax included. Like I said, no labor. But other than that, so the few things that I may or may not do that it still needs, and that is I never have really cleaned the door panels. They still are not up to my snuff as far as cleanliness. We've got a broken piece here because I'm assuming the last person that owned this truck didn't know how to remove this, so they broke it. They tried to pull it up, and you actually have to take it apart to pull that apart. So I may fix this. If I could find a good set of door panels, that would be my preference. But I could put some zip ties on that on the backside, or even possibly glue it. That's not really my preferred method of fixing things. So if I could find a set of door panels, I may just go that route. The same thing's going on the other side. They actually glued it though, and they did a terrible job. But they did glue it, so I'm assuming they broke it as well. You can see the glue. That is not dirt there. That's just nasty glue. So really, the only way to make this look right would be to find some new interior panels, and they're tough to find because a lot of times in a salvage yard the doors are off of them, or they leave the windows down, and they're just trashed. So the back ones are in great shape, no issues there. So really I just need a set of front ones. Aside from that, I would, if I replace the door panels and do a good cleanup on new ones, I would like to put some sound deadening behind that, and maybe even on the inside, like the door skin, to kind of quiet it down a little bit more. It's still way quieter than a factory one with all the sound deadening that we did, but to me, that would be kind of nice. The other thing is I do have a small crack starting on the dash here. I don't know if you guys can see that. So maybe if I could find a good replacement, that's been that way ever since I've owned it. Whether it gets any bigger, I don't know, but it is broken. So that is another thing that I may eventually fix. Lastly, if I found and I mean mint set of leather seats, I might put leather in it. Now, I know a lot of people asked me about that when I did the floor. Are you gonna put leather? I don't want, the seats are in such great shape that I did not want to go about putting new seats in. Finding a really nice set of these seats used is really tough. And if I did find some, I probably, used, I probably would do that. But I'm not gonna have these recovered or anything like that. I actually like the feel of that cloth. It's pretty good quality. It doesn't have a lot of wear on it really, even on the driver's side. But anyway, guys, I think that covers everything. There's nothing else I really want to do on the inside of this thing that I can think of. But wanted to give you guys a quick tour, talk about some of the stuff that I've spent. I spend a gob of money on the inside of this truck. Now look, $1,500 of that was the stereo. So if you take that out of the equation, because essentially if I do sell this truck, I'm gonna pull it out because I really, really love those JL subwoofers. I've never been one to buy JL. I've always been a Rockford guy or a Kicker guy, but I am telling you, I am sold on those subs. I will probably put them in multiple things. But either way, like I said, I wanted to make a video of the money that I have spent on the inside of this truck. I will make a separate video talking about and detailing all the stuff that I've done on the outside. But for now, let me know if you guys like this. Let me know if you want to see me do any more upgrades on this truck. And if so, what would those things be? And if you're not subscribed, guys, please go down there, hit that subscribe button. Of course, like always, ring that bell icon. That notifies you every single time we drop a new video. And stay tuned to see what we work on next.